metaphorically exploded.
But it did explode literally.
I wish. Right.
Pray you be dead.
Okay. Okay, so where we left off last time. Bloody hell. So a lot of different things happened in a very small space of time. Go figure. But I'll try to summarize it. So the party had I think we started off last session with the party's the ambush that happened at the party from good old Ola. The party slowed down a little bit and, with their heads put together, finally figured out what was going on with that shield and completed the mission without any deaths. Always a good time when that happens. Sorry. Okay, so party then came back, and then so party came back to the guild and were basically given the time to re-outfit themselves. So as of current, the party's statistics, if you will, a lot of the numbers have gone up because they've managed to basically use the money reward from the mission, which was 6 million gil per person. I know. Managed to use that money to re-outfit themselves. Basically respec themselves for a little bit of an easier time. So we start this session on the morning, the 13th of August, 56 AR, where the guild is as per normal, nothing unusual. And the party are collectively together in the guild room. You've just woken up. What you doing?
We're getting out of bed, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, getting
It's
out of bed.
brekkie time.
Yeah.
Yeah, brekkie time.
Brekkie time!
Or at least.
Milo
Oh, I'm
waking
getting
up
lost.
IRL.
Valid. Right. So group get up and start making their way down to breakfast. I think someone just sneezed. Did you sneeze?
No, that was a cough.
Okay, I thought you sneezed. I was gonna say bless you. I don't know how to brain cell. So you make your way.
What do you say to coughs?
I don't know.
Die.
Well done.
Okay. So you make your way down to breakfast, which is, as per normal, a pretty damn hearty meal. Right. So during breakfast, the guildmaster comes over to your table and requests to speak with you as a group in his office in a little bit. He's in a surprisingly upbeat and cheerful manner compared to the last couple of times you've seen him, where he's been a bit here, there, and everywhere. Okay.
I wonder what's got the Guildmaster in such a good mood. Silence,
Probably the
okay.
hash browns. They've got me in a good mood.
So, at the table, Gelda's like half asleep, just shoveling food. Xanis and Yuzok are, well, as you'd imagine, shoveling their faces full. Nolan, being Nolan, just kind of judging the two members of your group that are just... They may as well just have their face on the plate with their mouths open, just how big, yeah, kind of energy. And then Kay being Kay with her dainty cutlery affair. fire going on. Oh god. Okay, so after Milo and Alec, well, Milo speaks up and Alec responds. Nolan looks over to the two of them. Well, I can imagine the fact that you completed a mission and you're all still fucking alive. That's probably a pretty good start considering your what I'd imagine is your reputation for well, not doing that.
You're not wrong.
Word spreads that far, does it?
Well, no, more of a. I went out of my way to have a bit of a chat with your second in command, or the second guild master, so the Fox. Had a bit of a chat with him. So, party has breakfast. Are you heading straight to the guild master's office?
Might as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Okay, so as you make your way up there, seems like it's a full house. All the guild groups are in, which is a rarity, because 9 times out of 10 there's like 2 or 3 groups out and about. So once you arrive in the guildmaster's office, he still looks rather happy as he addresses you. Well, good morning. Hope you all slept well.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Still sleepy.
Well, it is first thing in the morning.
Certainly needed it after that experience.
I can imagine.
Yep.
Right, well, I should probably explain why I called you all up here, huh? And Lucas looks around the group, who are a combination of half asleep, half awake, and a bit all over the place. Right. So, my intention, I've called you all here because I would like to start giving you, I guess, a little team building exercise between each other. Not to say you need it. I'm not going to make any commentary there. I think most people have already pestered you enough about that. My intention is to get you to start learning to twin cast with one another. I feel like being able to pair your magic together and potentially, definitely amplify your versatility as a group could be quite the useful bonding experience. Only take a few hours out of your day, and the rest of it you can spend either preparing yourself for what's to come or just getting some much needed rest in.
Alright, sounds good. But sure. I'm down.
And Lucas looks at the rest of the group for acknowledgement.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Well then, I suppose you'll have to follow me in a bit. First off, go get yourself woken up a little bit more. I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call via message when the time is right.
Okie dokie.
And so the group departs. What are you going to do from here?
Okay. Is she still here?
Yeah, you've only just exited the office.
Okay, I have something to show you.
Kay looks at you with a raised eyebrow.
Come with me to the arena. That'll be the best place. Come on.
She
I'm like,
looks
get going.
very confused, but follows on regardless.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Don't worry.
She still maintains that level of mild concern and confusion as you end up heading off to the arena. I guess I'll go from left to right. Mirror, what are you planning to do?
What was the strength version of Macinome's cunning?
Depends on which layer of it you're trying to learn. It's gold.
What?
As in, are you trying to learn the normal version, the lesser version, or the mass version?
Probably the mass version.
So that'll be mass goldfish strength.
Yes. Can I see if anyone knows it?
You can take a look around.
Yes.
I say as I proceed to start flicking through and seeing who doesn't have this spell on the guild.
Sorry.
From what sheets I've got created. Control F, please. Okay, so you start looking around. But you're going to be off on your little adventure doing what you're doing. Milo, what are you doing?
I don't have a clue, to be honest.
Understandable. Would you like me to come back to you?
I mean, you can, but I don't think the answer's going to change much.
Okay. Penton, what are you doing?
We'll do some more training with my illusionist stuff. Maybe go give Nell a visit.
Okay. So Penton is off to go and see Nilissa. Oh, right. Let me make some notes. So. Oh my god, I can't even spell. He's off to see now, and Mira is off to find someone to teach her. Sorry, I know you can probably hear my keyboard as I'm trying to type fast. Okay. Is there anything in particular, or do you want me to just have Milo return back to the guild room?
Yeah, just go back to the guild room.
Okay. So separate out who's going where. Okay, so with that, oh god. Oh god, okay, I've got a rough idea. Okay, so Nolan Lee goes out the front door of the guild. Xanis and Yuza head off to another area of the guild. And then, yeah, I guess I'll have Jelda head back to the guild room as well. And Alice is going off to go and get her, go and pick up what's left of her here. So I know where everybody is. Okay, so Alec, you and Kay end up making your way down to the arena. What do you do?
Okay, so watch this. Okay, and I'm gonna stand all the way back and then use launch. Not on her, obviously. Just near. And then be like, look.
Okay, so you show off your launch room to Kay, and she seems impressed, but it's not a look of surprise. It's I guess more of an analytic look. And as you come back over from catapulting yourself across the room, I'd assume a training dummy. She looks at you with hand on her jawline. Well, I'm surprised that you picked up a rune so fast, but well done, I guess.
Yeah, Nova helped. Maybe Nova can help you. Have you tried that?
She frowns. Well, it's not Nova that needs to help me. It's how do I explain it? The runes that I'm learning, or I know in particular, are related to my bloodline. So I've got to go and talk to my dad, and ask him to give me a hand. Which I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
And she smiles. In fact, I do have I've managed to get one properly working now. The other one seems to be a bit more of a, requires a bit more training, I guess.
Can you show me?
Yeah, certainly. And you watch as she becomes infused with this intense, holy energy that then it's like a burst of 3 blades of light that arc upwards and then strike the training dummy.
Oh, that was so cool. Oh my god.
She looks very pleased with herself. That one is I've known it for a while. It's quite exhausting to use, but it's called Celestial Flurry. It's one of the ones I picked up a while ago. We'll call it that.
I wonder if I could learn that one.
She looks at you and shakes her head. That one, unfortunately, is kind of my family specific. I haven't really taken the time to learn the, I guess, more accessible ones.
It is really cool.
She looks very pleased. What are you planning to do from here?
I'll probably go back to the guild room.
Okay. So after that, Alec and Kay return to the guild room, where Milo and Gelda are currently. Right. Meanwhile, Mira, you've finally managed to locate someone who can teach you Mass Galka strength.
Yeah.
And said
It's gonna be like
person-
Cedric, isn't it?
Nope, so the person you are looking for just so happens to be in the infirmary, as it is one of the guild's resident infirmary workers, Priscilla Ebenpour,
Yo.
aka one of the, I guess this is more for reference, because this is not what they are known as now, but one of the Wolverine elites from a previous campaign, because they do not have that same title anymore. And she looks over at this. Actually, does she look? Is she looking down or is she looking over? That's the question. Because I forget how tall she is. Right, she is looking down at Mira.
Oh my god, she's tall.
She is 6 foot. You are 5'6".
5'7". 5'6", 5'7". We had this discussion last time.
Yes. 5'7".
5'7".
So there's only like a 5-inch difference between the two of you.
Something or other.
So I'll just pop that in the just because I like using this. I like an excuse to use this tool at any given point, and I will take the oh, you know what? Whilst I'm doing this, I love this dark mode thing I've got for like Google Docs and whatever, but I don't like the fact it immediately changes the font. Like the font,
Yeah.
specifically the font color.
Yeah,
Really
what I
unpleasant
do.
grey.
Yeah, what I do is I turn the Google Doc itself to grey, so then I can have grey on grey with black. So much nicer.
Anywho, I have shared the height difference between the two of you if you wish to enjoy that. So you approach Priscilla, who is currently kind of just, I guess, pottering about the place.
Hi, Priscilla. Do you have a minute?
Why, of course I do, darling. How can I help you?
Well, I was hoping you could help me learn a spell.
She raises an eyebrow. And what, say, darling, would that spell be?
I tell her the name because I will admit I've already forgotten.
Mask Alpha Strength.
That.
She raises an eyebrow at you. The other one this time. Keeping you on your toes.
Ooh, never know.
Exactly. And why do you need to know this spell, might I ask?
Well, I kind of want to learn some more about how to support everyone else. And, well, my strength's not really that good, so I guess being able to be a bit stronger could help in a pinch.
She nods, and look, dare I say, you feel a tiny bit insulted by the fact that the expression that she's looking at you with is one of a combination of surprised and almost impressed. As if she didn't expect you specifically to come up with such an idea or concept. Basically, she's looking at you because she thinks you're stupid.
Hey, she's not wrong.
She takes a few moments, checks her book of patience for the rest of the day, and then almost nods approvingly. Well, darling, I certainly do have the time to teach you. Come with me. And
Yay!
she takes you to from the infirmary. She ends up basically waving to Lilac and Milky to let them both know that they are on their own, I guess, for lack of better wording. And the two of you go to a nice little one of the little tea rooms, or like a break room style. Not like, how do I describe it? Don't think like a work break room. Think like a room that's set up like a tea room, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't think of the right description for it, but that'll do. So you end up sitting together, and I would like you to make me an Arcana check as she's teaching you.
Sure. Okay. I closed all the wrong tabs. That was good of me.
Well done.
36.
Yep. So as she's teaching you, you manage to pick it up quite quickly.
Yay.
So I will add that to your sheet later.
Thank you.
And she takes a little bit of time to basically explain the concepts of it to you, you know.
Hmm.
And it's very pleasant. She's got quite a, despite her I guess the energy about her, she is almost uncomfortably perceptive and insightful of every single little thing you do as you're learning. Like, you've not actually had a proper person-to-person interaction with Priscilla before this point. Like, she has no idea what your personality is like outside of, you know, guild reports, whatever. But every single specific niche little thing that shouldn't be that, well, I say shouldn't be obvious to the outward observer, she manages to nail down almost immediately. So every little explanation that doesn't quite land, and you're like, oh, this is confusing, she immediately changes the wording of it, re-explains the same thing.
Aw.
Just the right way. And you kind of almost feel unsettled by just how on the nail she is with most of her corrections, if you will.
Hmm.
Okay, so you've taken the time to learn. What do you plan on doing after this?
I guess I'll just wander around for a little bit.
Okay, so okay, so Penton. Hello. So you've gone off to go find Nell to teach you some more illusion, or try and teach you some illusion magic,
Probably the same one that I didn't manage to put on last time.
which is negative reaction if memory serves correctly.
Yes.
So, as you're walking down the hallway, you see Gelda. Well, I said Gelda. You see Fenrir's tail sticking out the door of your room, and you know Kay and Alec kind of entering the room. Door closes behind them. But one particular room, the door seems to be wide open, because out of that room you can hear the loud hollerings of Shalnar. So you come down this corridor after taking a little poke about the guild halls to see if you can find Melissa walking around. You're like, okay, she's not here, so I'll go to Group M's room. And as you're walking down this hallway, all you hear is no. Shalnar is just shouting her name, and you can hear it echoing down the hallway. And you hear some. I need to just double check this, because if memory serves correctly, I may or may not have remembered this right. Is it? Where? Who? There it is. So you hear some very quiet grumbling and some very quiet footsteps moving past you. They stop, just shy of where you are. You say a word, and I will hit you. And
So I'm basically throwing a hand up in a sign of like, okay. And then just point in the opposite direction and start walking.
Yep. So you end up heading back to roughly the same place where you were being taught before.
So, I'm ready to try again. And I'm sure you'd rather be anywhere than where you were just now.
Well, quite perceptive. And Melissa, you see the lovely blue dragonborn basically decloak herself. Not in a decloak, as in a literally she drops the vanish spell that she has on her as of that point. Just want to be clear on that one
Yes.
before it gets misconstrued. Right. So, you want to try and learn the same spell again, or something slightly different?
We'll just go for the same spell. I feel like I almost had it last time.
Right. Well. And she sits down. And once again, attempts to try and teach you the negative reaction spell. Please roll me an Arcana check.
Can I moment of greatness?
I'm going to say, for the sake of this, Nell will probably discourage you from doing so, as that's not going to be, in her mind, properly learning it. It's cheating.
I'm guessing using like trig is also cheating.
Yes, and also I don't see why
It
Penta
doesn't
would.
affect harm. Good. Cool.
No, it's your charisma, you dipstick. Platonically.
Not a dipstick. You're a dipstick.
I run this campaign. I am mandatorily a dipstick. But
27?
yeah. So you attempt to try and learn the spell again, and fortunately enough, you manage to get it this time. It clicks. In your mind, the spell makes sense. It was the one thing you weren't understanding beforehand is that you were trying to focus too hard on forcing the person to look bad, rather than allowing the magic to do the job for you.
Allowing the natural shittiness to show through.
For lack of better wording, yes. So
Sweet.
you have managed to successfully learn that.
Woohoo! I'm on a roll. First defeat a dragon, and I learn a new spell. What's next?
Nell just kind of chuckles, and you can very quietly hear Shalnar like echoing down the hall. So you just hear this very quiet meow, meow, just echoing.
I guess your duty calls?
No, to be fair, I think I'm going to either let Jasmine or Georgina deal with it this time. I've dealt with it enough times. Although knowing Georgina, she's probably a bit too busy trying to find something to perform an exorcism on. And she shakes her head. The blue dragonborn woman in front of you, seeming a little bit crumpled, for lack of better wording.
Do I just go for a walk then?
I don't see why not. Though, She just shrugs. Just don't go getting any ideas, alright?
Wouldn't dream of it.
Good. So the two of you go on walkabouts. I always have to remember how many L's I spell Melissa's name with. Okay, so Milo, Gelda, Kay, and Alec, you are chilling in the guild room, and you see something a little bit weird. Like, out in the distance, kind of, you'd say maybe, like, 2 seconds. I know that. You'd say maybe about a mile out from the guild is Norlan, who is doing something that doesn't quite make sense to you, but it seems like he's checking for something.
Is that about the distance where, all the way back when Kay and Xanis got kidnapped, where I saw the cloaked figure carrying them off?
Roughly? I'd say maybe, like, in my brain, kind of? Yeah, for the fact I can't be asked to remember how far off they were. How far, the kidnapper was last time. I'd say, yeah, roughly. But he stops. He ends up spending about 6 seconds standing there, doing something that doesn't quite make sense to you. It seems like it's something, maybe something magical? Maybe? You can't quite put your thumb on it. It's not something you're specifically familiar with. But then he'll do that, and then walk a small distance, and then do the same thing again.
Can I sending Norlan and be like, hey there, what you doing?
Yeah. So, as you use sending, and the rough response, the rough response you get is, I can't be asked to specifically word it, but the response basically that he's checking for portals around the guild.
Okay, I'll tell everyone else that.
Kay looks mildly amused, but goes back to reading the book that she was reading. Gelda, however, looks very excited. Looks over to Fenrir, who looks kind of half done with existing, and Gelda proceeds to basically bolt out the door, and you give it maybe 5 minutes, and Gelda is down there now with Norlan, and they are both having a conversation between each other. So it is now Milo, Fenrir, Alec, and Kay in that room.
Okay then.
Oh, I want to go look for portals. I'm gonna go off with them.
Okay, so Alec, you get up and head outside to go and join Gelda and Nolan. Kay gets up and leaves the room to go. Well, she doesn't really say where she's off to, but Fenrir just flumps down on the big cushion that he normally sleeps on.
Okay then.
So Milo and Fenrir are now the only ones in that room. Joined by John and Alec. Sorry, I you end up bumping into Mira.
Hello, Mira.
Oh, microphone. Hi, Penaton!
Penton, come on. It's been months and months now. You've got to know my name.
I know your name. It's your nickname, Penaton.
It's my nickname, is it?
Yeah.
Never said this to me before.
Oh, I thought you know. Well,
No,
now you
I'm
know.
inside your head, Mira.
Oh, well, maybe you should be. Ask Alec. Maybe he can show you how to, like, become one with my brainstem.
I mean, I don't know how to do that, and I don't think Alec can teach me that. However, I have just learned how to do, like, a lot more things. I, like, learned this
Oh.
one thing where I can just sort of grab any kind of elemental spell and just throw it out there, even if I don't really know it. And I don't know how I did it. I don't know how it works, but it's fucking cool.
Oh, okay. So, like, part of your thing where you pretend to be other people, but now you're actually stealing their power.
Yeah, sure, that works. Yeah, okay. But I want to test it out, so... Do you fancy a fight? Not me and you fight. I mean, just go fight something. And there's a
Okay,
stipulation.
because I didn't want to throw fists.
No, it didn't work too well last time.
No.
Why did you run
Okay.
over? I told you I was gonna punch you.
I know, but I didn't think you'd do it that hard.
Fair enough. Anyway, let's go.
Okay.
So, my question to the two of you, are you going to be going to the arena?
We're gonna do a simulation fight.
Sounds
We're
like
gonna
it.
do simulations, and we're gonna see how we do. Literally, just wing it.
Okay, I ask, is this an actual fight, or would this be against something like a training dummy? I need to ask this because if you are actually going to just randomly throw a fight together, then I need to find the sheet for the thing that you're going to fight.
What do you think,
Fight an
Penaton?
actual thing, or do you want to fight a dummy?
I think
I wanna fight
perhaps a
thing.
dummy, because my brain is a dummy, so might be best.
Okay.
Alright.
Unless you really want to.
Kinda do, but I also don't want to put too much strain on our DM.
No. This is, if you want to do that, you're welcome to do that.
Then let's do it.
It will have to.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Okay,
We are
right,
doing it.
This is happening.
This is happening. Oh god.
From the list of things you have previously fought, what are you picking out? You
Can we have a list?
the rough list of like the last 4 things I can actually recall off the top of my head are like I think the adamantine golem. You're not fucking fighting her again. I love you, but I'm not letting you do that.
Yeah, let's fight all her. Yeah.
No, not again. You
Not
would
again.
die.
Aw, shame.
Platonically, he would destroy 2 of you. Look at what happened when there was fucking, like 10 of you. 11 if you count Fenrir. Okay, do you want something simpler like an Abaddon?
Sure, that would do.
Okay, thank fuck for that.
No, I want to fight Lilith again.
I mean, this can be arranged.
No!
Point made. Okay, right, so, let me drag and select you 2.
Wow, we have been selected.
And then paste, and then scroll down, and then find the token for the Abaddon, which if I type in, drag that over here, make sure it's the right size.
Basically, this just adds some chaos to session, and it also lets us try out the stuff we've picked out.
Yeah. I mean, my stuff hasn't been added because I only did it yesterday.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Don't
The
worry.
consequences
I'm
of my
protecting you.
action.
I'm field control man.
Don't remind
Oh,
me.
okay, good. I'll be your DPS.
Don't remind me.
Now you've got one extra one to add.
I have so many things to recalc.
I apologize.
2 of those are 2 of those are full spellcasters with 2 spellcasting classes.
I'm
Looks-
sorry.
Looks okay.
Uh,
Honestly, I genuinely just wanted to see how different party members work in combat when there's not like 7 of us.
Okay, well,
you picked me for this task, thanks.
Because I knew you'd say yes.
I
You want me to be
mean,
brutally honest?
I mean, I don't even have a funny comment to make. That's just, yes.
Are you calling me a wet wipe? Because she's right.
Sorry, I was not expecting that. Okay, right, heck. Hide the art piece, and then combat music is on, switch to the generic fight
Oh, we're
route,
doing this
because
now.
yes, we're doing this now.
We're doing this now.
Which I hope you know, there were 2 other people in this arena that have vacated. No, sorry, there were 3 other people in here that have vacated for the sake of letting you do your thing.
Well, I didn't ask them to do that.
No, they saw
Yeah, they should have watched.
they saw Penton come in and start messing with the simulation screen and went, "Yep, no, we're leaving."
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
This shit I'm out. I have
Woo!
to turn off dark
We
mode
can't
for
die.
watch you.
No,
Oh
mean,
god,
as
I
in
have to
we
get
can't
my.
actually die.
No,
Unless one of us tries to do a backflip and breaks our own.
it breaks your own neck from backflipping.
I'll
Okay.
slap Penton.
Right. I was not expecting to have to do this.
It's alright, I wasn't expecting either because I have nothing open.
Right. Well.
I mean, is there any better bonding, team building exercise than
That's it.
Yes, it's called
Please.
group
in
therapy.
combat?
Why are the gauges not showing up the right color? Game,
It's
please.
still laid back because there's no actual risk. So
The risk is to my mental health.
Okay, is this gonna... Right, there we go. For some reason, it just decides to not load with the bars the right color. Cool. Okay, well, this thing is gonna be moving last anyway,
I
so...
will point out you could have said no. So
I could have, but... that was...
either of
Yeah,
you could have said
as I said, I am a wet wipe.
And I am not interjecting because it is your downtime. You decide what you're doing with it.
Crying, sobbing, and throwing up on the floor.
no. And then the spell.
Okay. I guess roll initiative.
Yeah.
Oh god. Oh right, I don't have initiative anymore.
No, you have a +0 because you chose to do that.
Yep. Oh dear. Wow, I'm starting to understand why this was not a good idea.
And I can't be asked to change it back out again. So,
Me either.
have fun with that.
It's 42 to initially.
Okay, right. And mirror,
6.
that's fine. You still move before the abaddon. Because I rolled a 1.
I guess you could say that's not so bad.
No.
Abaddon. Ha!
Oh god, the temptation to have one of the onlookers just throw a spell in there just to...
You just want
punish
to
that
ruin
check.
me.
I want to ruin you for making a terrible joke.
I need to
That
open the
was-
they have
debuff.
ruined?
Painful.
I
Okay.
ruin everything, so.
Fucking mood. I exist, therefore thing does not go well. Okay, right, Penton.
Yeah, that's basically my motto.
Yo 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 yo.
Mood, right.
Yiddy-yiddy-yoo.
What am I doing? I'm guessing I was ahead of it in initiative.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, I rolled a 1, so it's a 5
I'm going to
total.
use a bonus action to activate Lucky Streak.
Okay.
I am going to use Mage Armor on Mirror.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm also
Wang. Teamwork.
gonna... Where is it? 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 It's there. It's blur. I'm gonna use blur on Mirror. Give her a 20% evasion rate. And then I'm going to move. I'm not gonna move. I'm gonna
You're gonna move.
knock out.
Aww.
I'm gonna move a little bit away because I don't have any like bar effects. Being close to me is not really do much. And I'm going to attempt to, for the first time ever, use Shadow Anchor. That's what it's called. I'm gonna cast Shadow Anchor on it. With touch, I'm gonna move up to it and use Shadow Anchor.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Yeah, Shadow Anchor.
What do I need to roll?
You need to roll a wisdom save.
I don't know why I'm rolling. That's a 13.
That's a fail. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
Boop.
I'm gonna move away using know when to walk away. And I think that's my turn. That's all 3 actions. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, mirror.
Oh my god. Ooh, ee, ooh,
I guess for reference, I
okay.
have tethered it into place so it can't move more than 5 feet.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna stack a whole bunch of bus because I'm that bitch.
Go for it.
Okay, first things first, I'm gonna cast haste. And then Master Gnome's Cunning, so you have +6 to your intelligence. Put that. This is still cast, by the way. And then second action, Phalanx 3 for 15 damage reduction, and then elemental resistance to dark. I probably have like, this thing probably cannot touch me at this point. And then that's my second action. Third action, I'm gonna move a bit closer to Penton, and then I'm gonna hold my last action.
Hello, friend.
Oh my gosh. Okay, right. Well. Shadow Anchor, it can't move, can it?
Nope.
Great, well, it's just gonna stand there and do nothing because
Sweet.
it is fully aware that it cannot, as the lovely Abaddon is with its tactics, it is fully aware that it cannot fight either of you. It cannot fight either of you, it cannot flee, therefore it stands there.
Oh my god.
Has its arms and wings basically wrapped around itself to protect itself and hold its actions.
Okay.
Well, who wants to do the honor of exploding this thing?
I want to see what you can do, so you did it.
Okay, I will cast chain lightning.
Okay.
Can you make me a dex save, please?
That is a 21.
Fail. Okay, that is 112 damage.
Congrats, it's deceased.
Yeah!
How weak these things were, I was hoping for a...
Remember when we almost got impaled on these?
Right at the start of the campaign, yes.
Yeah!
Yeah, like one of these almost killed us. Yeah, it's one of
Then
those
now I just-
things I can just tether someone to the floor.
Mhm.
So whenever you're being really annoying and running around like a headless chicken, I can forcibly stop you.
Wait, that sounds like a really demented way of timeout.
You can think of it that way, yeah.
But I don't want a timeout.
Should we just spawn another one? Or...
You hear a voice shout down to you. Are you done in there? We were in the middle of something before you turned up. Could have checked the arena before you started something. And Xanis is standing at the railing, looking down into the I guess the arena pit, with the Guildmaster and Yuzok standing maybe a few feet from him.
Whoopsie.
Got a little bit tunnel vision there. Apologies. Who died?
My Discord.
Oh. Which means I'm gone as well.
Can anybody hear me still?
casting meteor. So
Oh my god, okay. Hello. Is
You're back?
everything...
I agree
is
with
the
your
stream okay?
Is everything back? The fuck? I do not know what happened there.
Did your PC crash or
No.
did Discord reload? Is that what
Yeah,
happened?
Discord just went completely grey and then reloaded.
Yeah, it does that.
What the fuck? Why?
I think it's a memory issue.
Relatable. So the Guildmaster looks down kind of looks down at you both. After Xanis is so helpfully called out.
Hello.
And hops down into the arena with you.
We're not fighting you, are we?
Well, it would have been polite if you had checked beforehand.
I've got no abilities and I wanted to test them out. I'm sorry, I got tunnel vision.
Well, I'd already figured that one out. It's not the first time. Well. Anyway. If you want to test out your skills, it's probably better to fight something on your level.
Yeah.
Well, I think we just wanted to see if we could actually do the spells first.
Right. Lupus has his head in his hand. So you're telling me that you want to test out your new skills. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you choose to summon something that is very much beneath you in terms of capabilities.
Yes.
I'll be honest, I just hit random.
Right.
I don't know how this thing works. I've never used it before.
Right. Okay. Well, if you
Roll
rip.
deception. Roll deception.
Okay. Roll deception. And I'm going to have Lupus roll insight.
Oh no.
Yes.
We a bit excited.
97.
And that is. Is that just with Lucky Streak up?
Oh yeah, Lucky Streak's still up.
So. If Lucky Streak is still up, then yes. But if not, then please make sure that you are keeping track of where your modifier is.
46.
Right. Lupus rolled a 73.
Ah.
On insight. You are not fooling the Guildmaster in any way, shape, or form. As Lupus just kind of looks directly at you. And it's like it's a stare that almost pierces through you. So you're to tell me that after sitting there tapping about with it for I'm not quite sure how long at this point, that you just hit random. You're aware that there's no random feature on that, right? Unless you're building a tournament between people.
Which answer would piss you off less?
If you want something to fight that's on your level, perhaps I can get either Xanis and Yuzok to fight you, or I can do so.
No.
I want to say yes, but I feel like I might have taken up too much session
It's fine.
time
I
already.
don't think there's much else happening as of current.
Does anybody else have something they want to do? Just out of character.
Yes.
Okay.
What's
Well,
Alex thing then?
what we will do is whilst you're back and forth debating, I'm gonna imagine that Mira and Pension are talking in quiet hushes between each other as to whether that's a good idea or not. Alec, Gelda and Norland, like them doing the looking about for portals thing kind of bores you quite quickly. It's
Have we not found one?
not yet, but it's literally every few minutes they take like 15 feet worth of movement forward, rescan, same thing, around the whole guild. It's just it sounds like you're fascinated by the concept, but your brain just cannot be bothered to deal with waddle 15 feet forward, watch Nolan do something, waddle 15 feet forward, same thing.
Yeah.
So you end up going off to find Arlmin, the tiefling member of the guild that you were suggested to go and speak to previously.
Yeah. So I go and look for him.
So you end up heading off. To go find Arlmin, who is kind of just sitting. Oh, I've got to remember what group he's in. So last time, you end up asking one or two people on the way there as to, do you know what group this person's in? You end up being directed to the guild room for Group P.
Ha.
Funny.
P.
Shaking my head. Where, when you knock on the door, and I'm presuming requesting Arlmin,
Mm-hmm.
you are met with the face of another. You met with the face of another tiefling. And you would be who exactly?
Alec.
And,
From Group U.
Oh, right. And you are here because
Nova told me to talk to you.
about
The demon stuff.
Arlmin frowns, but steps out of the room, closes the door behind him. Right. I'm presuming that you know that because you have the sense?
No, because Nova told me.
You don't have the ability to sense the difference between...
No. I think that's the problem.
Arlmin lets out possibly the longest... I say the longest sigh. The most frustrated sounding sigh and mumbles something to himself in Infernal. This definitely sounds like...
I speak Infernal, what does he say?
It sounds like some sort of... like... how do I describe it? This would not be a word that is familiar to Alec, because it's a slang word commonly used in the underworld, of which, as far as I am aware, Alec has not lived in.
No.
So you would not know what the word is. But it does sound like something infernal. So you end up getting led to a small room, basically, where the guy starts trying to explain to you how to use your senses. And as he's explaining it, it makes no sense to you at all. Like,
Damn, I don't even get to roll something. Wow.
so he stops asking, he stops trying to teach you an infernal and swaps to common. Right. Let me try explaining it in your normal language. I'm sure you're not exactly familiar with a lot of the infernal terms that are used in the underworld. And he begins to try and explain to you how the demon sense works. And up until a point, it's making a little bit more sense. It's almost like a sixth sense. And I'd like you to roll me a D20, please.
A mysterious D20. 18.
So,
That's pretty good.
as you're trying to understand what this guy is saying, and he tries several times to help you kind of project that sense. And each time you attempt it, nothing happens. You're trying, but nothing happens. And Arrelman looks very confused. You're definitely a demon, right? There's no doubt about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How do I explain this to you? Everything that I've tried, including using my own abilities to help bolster that, nothing seems to be shifting in you at all. I can't seem to be able to sense you properly either. Outside of being aware you're a demon, how do I explain it? The infernal sense allows you to tell the difference between the two, but there is a very rare occasion where... how do I explain it? An infernal person's signature, or what basically acts like a radar, your blip is very weak. Unnaturally so. And he takes a moment to think, and says a word in Infernal that makes zero sense to you. The guy may as well be talking gibberish in Infernal. That one word just makes no sense. Do you understand what that word means?
No.
Okay, once again, translate to common, because it's a underworld phrase that's used often, but I have to recall that you do not seem to be acquainted with that. You are what infernal kind refer to as a senseless. You are not capable of projecting a demon or devil sense. It's quite a rare thing. I would advise that you do not mention this to anybody outside of the Guildmaster and maybe Nova if you report back to him.
Is it a bad thing?
He nods furiously. Yes, it is a very bad thing.
Damn, that sucks. Is there anything I can do about it?
No, unfortunately
No.
not.
Well.
Anyway, I would advise that at some point you point that out to either Nova or the Guildmaster directly. I'll let them explain why.
Okay, I'll talk to the Guildmaster after this if I can find him.
And Arrelman spends a little longer trying like one or two more things that just don't work. Which is a little frustrating, I would imagine.
Okay, I'm gonna go look for the Guildmaster.
So, you go off to find the Guildmaster. And you find Uzok and Xanis standing by the Colosseum, at the area to the Colosseum. And in the arena is Mira and Penton with Lupus with his arm looking at them with his arms crossed. The two with Penton and Mira seeming to be having quite a furious debate between the two of them. Are you going to call down?
I'm just gonna stand there and wait for them to finish.
So, Mira and Penton, the two of you are still discussing whether it's what to do about the situation you've landed yourselves in. And Lupus is standing there, I'd say about 15 feet away from you, arms crossed, waiting for you two to figure out what you're doing.
Oh. Well, why don't something else? Like, go far away. Why don't we do some runes?
Lupus just shakes his head and sighs. If you're going to practice your efforts in future, just make the effort to actually train rather than try to make glorified kills. I understand.
Yes, sir.
I understand why you may want to do so to test out your new tools, but you won't actually give yourself a reliable test for those tools unless they are used within the heat of the moment, if you will. That's the only true way to test their effectiveness. Understood?
Yes.
So Xanis and Yuzok make their way down, and Lupus looks up at the railing where Alec is currently standing. And can I help you up there, Mr. Tall Looming? Looks like he wants to say something.
Oh, hello. I have something I need to tell you, Lupus.
Okay, let me come up, and I will let these four figure out what they're doing in terms of practice. And Lupus basically gives a very shorthand description to Mira, Penton, Xanis, and Yuzok as to mentally prepare themselves for some runic training. And Lupus comes up to talk to Alec. Right. What's up?
Arelman told me that I'm senseless and that I shouldn't tell anyone. It's bad.
Yeah, it is. So let me try and shorthand this for you. You've never been to the underworld, right?
Nope.
Okay. So there are two beings that are very well known in the underworld. One is the profaned one, the other is the sacred one. The sacred one is basically a celestial that I have a rough idea of who that could be referring to in terms of that, but it's supposed to be this incredibly powerful angel that will descend from above and basically wipe out both sides. The profaned one is basically the pinnacle of devil and demon blood. It is essentially the middle ground between yourself and Milo, we'll call it that is essentially an unstoppable killing machine. To summon said profane one requires the sacrifice of a senseless that are extremely rare.
Oh, fuck.
So
That is bad.
Yeah, so basically,
Oh, no.
if you do encounter another devil or demon, just guess. If you guess wrong, just treat it like you're insulting them. Because they find out that you're senseless, well, yes. And Lupus looks at Alec like he wants to say more, but shakes his head. That's about as much as I need to tell you for the sake of keeping myself safe. The rest of it would just add anxieties. We'll put it that way.
Oh. Wow, this really sucks.
Yeah. Welcome to your cultures. Or culture, I guess. Some interesting characters.
Alex just gonna stare off at everyone else down in the arena and just think about his life.
Lupus pats Alec on the back. Well, just don't focus on it too much. It's the best thing I can really say to you. Anyway, do you want to come down practice some... Well, I think they want to practice some runes after I caught them red-handed, trying to show off.
Fuck yeah. I love runes.
So, Lupus kind of escorts Alec down. Milo, presuming you are still in the guild room, you receive a message from Lupus asking if you would like to join them to start practicing twin casting. And it's roughly tailored to end off with, it's your choice whether you would like to or not, but your attendance would be preferred. The same thing is sent off to Norlin, Gelda, Alice, and Kay, who are not in the arena currently.
I guess. Milo will start making his way over to wherever Lupus said it was.
Okay, so down, we'll say like a few minutes later, the party has ended up kind of collectively gathering after receiving the message. So everybody is in this room. With Norlin and Gelda seem a little bit excited as they come back, though Gelda's more hyperactive. Norlin seems a bit more of apprehensive excitement, if you will. Summarize notes, which is not ending well. Yep. Okay. So the party is now collectively gathered, and Lupus begins. Right. So. This is going to sound a little strange, I suppose, but I'm going to start teaching you how to cast with one another. I'm aware that two of you have already started this, and Lupus looks to Kay and Xanis. But a little bit of progress is not the end of the world. The rest of you can catch up. So, Lupus looks over to Mira, Penton. I know you two were asking about learning runes. I should elaborate and be a little clearer. Teaching you to twincast is pulling on the power of runes. Specifically, it is combining, two of you are combining your ability to cast Dispel into a single spell. You are technically fusing those spells together with runic energy. It sounds confusing, I'm aware. But it's... how does one describe this? It'll be a good way to prepare you for some much harder runic magic and how to learn them later on. Who knows, maybe you'll eventually learn to do some of the same crap that I pull. Anyway. Lucas clicks his knuckles. Does anybody have any preference as to who they're getting paired up with? this is the point where me as a DM, I will ask you: are there any other members of the group that you would like to prioritize learning with?
Anyone who has any of my spells.
Alec and I have Dispel.
Yes, Alec and Maria should dispel.
Team
together.
Owl, let's freaking go.
Yeah.
My Lesser Shadow Elemental main slab.
Yes,
Does that count for the actual spells?
Yes, so Lesser Shadow Elemental, because you are capable of replicating elemental black mage spells and elemental geomancer spells. They do hypothetically apply together, I guess, for lack of better wording.
Yeah, if you have any elemental spells, much at all, then I can go with anybody. So I don't really have a preference.
Okay, so whilst the group is figuring out what they wish to do, Xanis and Kay pair off with one another. So, of those who are remaining, please discuss amongst yourselves.
Oh my god.
Milo.
So, who's pair? Have any of you settled on who you'd like to pair off with? Dumb question in the way, but
Hello, Alan.
Hello, Milo.
I'm assuming you two are pairing off with one another.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who's actually here, by the way?
The whole
Everyone.
pie. Currently, the remaining pair-off options, or people who have yet to pair off, not including Fenrir in this because, yes, people who have not settled. You have Penton, Mira, Uzok, Alice, Gelda, and Nolan. Oh god. Brain cells, please. So Nolan and Alice are going to pair off with one another. So,
Mira, me and you?
Yeah.
It's like, I could do with the NPCs, but there's
Yeah.
only one other person.
It's
on this
okay,
call.
Mira. We'll do dispel after I've finished pranking everyone with Milo.
Well, you're not gonna prank me, are you?
We'll
Don't worry
see.
about it.
What?
Frankly, and I'll rank you back twice as hard.
Yeah, Pentatron's got my back.
Please do. I'm counting on it.
Lupus looks to you all as you pair off with one another. Right. So, have you settled on what you would like to, well, actually, let me go a little, give you a little lesson, I suppose. And you're all keep in mind that this is a completely flat, maybe like, I guess, packed earth floor. A bunch of chairs basically form from the ground. Take a seat.
Take a seat. Pick up a chair and run away. Seat taken.
It is
Take a
fused
seat.
into the floor. Good luck with that. Okay. So Lupus starts pacing back and forth as he's talking. So the reason why I'm training you to learn to twin cast with one another is because once you've mastered it with that particular person, you can utilize combining other magics together, even if you do not know that spell. Once you've figured it out, you can put them together hold your applause. Lupus chuckles a little bit to himself. Anyway, the use of this will be a lot more obvious when the situations come about. But a good example, I suppose, to use is that let us use Pendant Mirror as a good example here. If the two of you manage to master twin casting with one another, you could combine your offensive capabilities, and it'll use the total strength. So Lupus begins to basically explain it. I will take a step out of character to explain as the DM. Basically, this will mean that provided the spells are of the same category, so like buff, debuff, attack, there'll be a couple of exceptions here and there, but I'll be a bit clear about that when that happens. You can basically slap spells together and go, hey, this thing. So, you know, stupid things like combining Ruin with something like, I don't know, like literally any damage spell. Stuff like that. Anyway. So... Oh god, Mira's already gone off, hasn't she? Yep, she has. Okay. So... Can I ask what spell you guys are using as a, I guess, catalyst between each other? Start with, I'm assuming Pendant Mirror, just any elemental spell.
Yep.
Alec and Milo.
We'll go sound.
Okie dokie, and I've already got that pair. Got that pairing. Okay, so I need everybody to roll a 1d10 for me.
A 7. That's pretty good.
Okay, I've got 4 mirrors for. What did you roll, Pendant?
I rolled 5.
5. Okay. Milo and Alec, what did you roll?
A 7.
4.
Okay. So I will basically just pop the little tracker I've got. So you spend the time trying to practice basically combining the spells, the same spell together, and casting it. And do this multiple times with Lupus. With Lupus using a little bit of his own magic to share out his MP for those of you that are using magic points to essentially give you as many attempts as you need. And you make some progress. Oh, God. And I'd say this takes up a few hours. Right, so the group after a while, you end up heading off, basically getting sent off to go and feast as the afternoon, well, the late afternoon rolls in and food comes about. And it is now evening. What would you like to do?
I have not got a clue.
Hmm.
I mean, part of me kind of wants to go out into Lemfire and try out some of my mind affecting stuff on the populace, but that's not a very good thing to do.
Probably not the best idea, no.
Oh, can I ask Norlan if he found any portals?
Yes, you may. I'm presuming. Are you asking in or out of character?
In character, yeah.
Okay, so you approach Nolan, who is basically adjusting the bed he's been assigned in that room. Everybody else is present in this room, just for context.
Okay. Did you find any portals, Norlan? Or
Well, I certainly found one, but it's not exactly a recent one.
what was it?
Well, I can't exactly say. I can't exactly say who used it, but I know roughly when it was opened. It seems like it was multiple months ago. So I reported it to the guildmaster. Seems like there was a little bit of a hole in the protective barriers around the guild. So, as you can see down there, and Nolan points out the window to the site of the guildmaster, both the guildmasters and one of the guild members. You can't quite make out from the window because A, it's dark, and B, the two guildmasters like silhouettes are kind of half blocking whoever the third person is. Pretty much a case of those protective barriers had a little bit of a chink in the armor. So pointed it out to the guildmaster, and now they're sorting it out. Nothing too exciting, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you found it. So
And Nolan kind of half shrugs. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Though must admit, it's certainly tough getting used to not constantly having to travel about the Feywild.
yeah, that must have been crazy. I mean, I've never been because it's fucking dangerous as hell.
Have I accidentally been?
Nolan
no.
looks over Penton as he chimes in. That sounds
No,
kind of insulting.
Yeah, I've never accidentally been to the Feywild.
Well, I can certainly tell you it's not going to be a place it's not the most fun to have to wander around the place. It's well, for lack of better wording, crazy is definitely a way to describe it. Can't even use your actual name. At least around the female Fey spirits, they like to once they know your name, they have control over what you do. And 9 times out of 10, that's either attacking other people or providing entertainment, like throwing yourself into the nearest bog.
I was gonna say that does sound entertaining, but I would die. Probably.
Most definitely. Those things are relatively bottomless. Unfortunately, lost one of me good luck charms down there. Was not something I was very happy about. It was
Well, now the bog is very lucky, so think about it that way.
True, but it means I don't have the good luck charm that the guildmaster gave me the last time I saw him, which is a little bit annoying.
I'm sure if you asked him for a new one, he'd give you one.
Perhaps, but that's not the point of it. The point is the fact it's gone.
Well, maybe we'll go back there and find it. In the bog.
Nolan just very... He seems to contemplate what you say, and then nods. Well, from what I imagine, you'll probably end up there anyway. At least it won't be Yuzok's first time going.
Yeah, I think I heard about that.
All I can say is, the brief experience I've had there, I used to live in the Feywild for a few years. It's a bit of an experience. But then again, I was surrounded with well, I was in the Satyr Woods, so no invasive Fey spirits trying to cause me problems. Despite their rather seductive nature, they're actually quite tame. And Nolan's nodding as though he has good memories of living in the Satyr Wood in the Feywild.
I will walk away and get back to, I don't know, making my bed or whatever.
Okay. So, presuming party's going to bed if nobody has any other plans?
Yep.
Marlo,
Go ahead.
gonna go and meditate in the gardens.
Okay. Any particular reason, if I may ask?
Nope.
Okay.
None that I can think of at the moment.
Okay. So, are you doing this for a few hours and then returning to the room to sleep?
Yep.
Okay. So, we roll on to the next day, the 14th of August. And it is a new morning. So, rinse and repeat of breakfast. I'm presuming the party's probably going to want to get the twin casting practice out of the way
Yeah.
to start the day.
Yeah.
Okay. So those D10 rolls again.
Oh.
I need to do maths.
Everything that's not a D10 is coming out of my dice bag. Found one. Oh, sorry, Milo.
What'd you get?
A 3.
I got a 9.
Well, that's good then.
Mira's roll. And what did you roll?
7.
So 15.
Man, if these were Arcana checks, I would be zooming.
And then it was a 9, and what did you roll, Alec?
A 3.
Okay. So you get your twin casting practice in. I've added up the percentage progresses. What's the party doing now?
Take a stroll into town. If anyone wants to join me, they're welcome.
Hey, Maria. Is she there?
No, she is not.
She's not.
She is
Did she
not.
go to? Oh,
She's going.
she's still in food.
Yes.
Okay. I will go on my own and try and look for Susan.
Okay. Okay, so Alec is heading off to go see Susan. I don't know what Mira's doing, but I'll come back to that. Milo, anything you're doing?
I guess going to the library.
Mira's off doing something. Okay, right. So Penton, you were the first one to head out. Just describe the part. Like Alec, you had to go find Susan. Mallory, you go off to the library. Right, so that's happening there. Shit. Everyone's been taking this part back. So Penton, what are you doing out in the town?
I guess I could run my con for a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Is this the like card trick? What's the con?
Yeah, we'll do a card trick.
Okay. So whilst you are off doing that, oh dear. So as you're doing that, you find one of the people that turns up at your little card deal is a somewhat familiar face. Do you want to roll a history check to see if you can recall this without see if you can properly recall this, because this person's not interacted with you for a long ass time.
Sure. That is a nat 20 and 45.
Okay. So, yeah, I'd say you recognize. You recognize the person who sits down to join you for your card game is none other than Lycus Lunannon, aka the big scary gambler man, as I'm gonna call him for the tee-hee funny, of the one that Lupus had previously mentioned is what you are striving to, I guess, become, or at least learn from, who sits down and joins you at your con table.
Pick a card, wait a second. What are you doing here? You come to give me pointers.
You just get it's an almost devilish grin. Well, lad, I thought I'd come and have a look.
I'm bored, so I'm making a bit of coin. I was gonna try and test out some of my new illusionist abilities on some hapless fools, but I feel like the guildmaster would not appreciate that, so
Yeah.
I'm behaving myself.
Yeah, I can't imagine that your tricks of the trade would exactly slip past a lot of people. At least as I'm covering. And can you describe to me roughly what your card game is meant to be? I'm guessing it's not like a shell game, but
I mean, I could be using room, couldn't I? It could be, pick a card, any card, I'm not going to look at it, place it down, and somehow I will magically know your card and I'll bet you money that...
yeah. Okay, so Lycus looks you directly in the eyes. Well then, I'm here to play your card game. What's the catch? What's the trick? And
What the trick is?
he's giving you a sly smirk, as if it's quite clear he's winding you up. Well, what am I doing?
Well, so lays out a deck of cards, tells Lycus to pick any card, and I'll try and guess what your card is.
So, Lycus picks up a card. Alright then. Taking my card. Go on.
And is your card the 6 of hearts?
And he places a card down on the table. It is not, in fact, that card. Wrong.
Ah, what a shame.
Nice try though.
Yeah.
Lycus gets up and starts walking away. Hmm?
I was rolling sleight of hand during this.
Ignore that. Lycus is not moved.
For a 63.
Yeah.
Just pull the first thing. Well, take a little rummage and see what you can feel during the trick while he's picking his card.
As in.
As in his
Coat
coat
pouch.
pouch. Yeah, coat pouch, yeah.
Oh boy. Serpentin, as you're trying to grab Lycus's coin pouch from his belt, from I'm presuming under the table,
Yes.
you reach down, you grab where the person's coin pouch should be, and you're met with a hand that grabs your hand and shakes it under the table.
Nice to meet you too.
And Lycus has a very sly grin on his face. Like, this is a, for lack of better wording, this is a shit-eating grin of, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so, the jig's up.
I was just gonna plant this on you and think about how I was gonna go about this later, but you sort of caught me. I need to get rid of this. It's gonna pull out the gemstone that is
Alistair's
Alistair's
phylactery.
phylactery.
Okay. So this is on the table. I'm assuming you're putting this on the table in front of him.
Yep.
Lycus raises an eyebrow. Alright, and any particular reason you're giving me this?
I just thought you could make good use of it. I don't want it. I've heard a lot of things about phylacteries and I don't want them to find it. You're a really good illusionist and an incredibly smart person, so you'll know how to make quick buck out of it and have it be completely nullified.
Lycus picks up the gemstone. Keep in mind, I'd say for context you can picture it. This is a gemstone that's roughly... what? I want to say roughly... I can't think of a good object that's like a good comparison. I guess like a small orange. Like, you could probably fit your hand around it. And Lycus picks it up and starts spinning it on his finger. Well, I could think of a pretty good way to deal with this.
Yeah? What are you thinking? Come round to Conman.
He pings the gemstone up with his finger and catches it in his palm. Well, you see, pretty nifty idea is I have this gemstone turned into a necklace, still function as the phylactery, and I sell this off to some rich twat on the island of Tempeal.
Tempeal, eh? Why Tempeal?
Well, how does one describe this? And he takes a moment to contemplate his words. Well, you see, I've got this great contact in on the island. I'll have to introduce you sometime. Perhaps you can actually pull off a decent, well, I say decent, a bit less obvious of a con. But he's a spy for me in Midgar. Pretty interesting place. But the island of Tempeal is where all that fun magitech that you've probably encountered by now comes from. So I give them a gemstone with a necklace, and they're all anti-magic. So the moment that a skeleton man walks onto the island, he's dead meat, and nobody will be any the wiser. And say he does somehow get on that island, the guy won't make it off without probably contracting a case of magitech poisoning, meaning he won't be able to use his necromantic powers anyway. 2 birds, 1 stone, and I net a few 100,000 gil out of it. Because you can get pretty good upsale value from a gemstone like this.
1,000 gil, not too bad. I should mention I actually did a pretty good grift myself recently. Sold an entire airship to a complete stranger. The guildmaster found out, so I couldn't keep all the money, but got some pretty good stuff out of it. It's gonna show. I think he keeps his sword on him most of the time, like on his.
I mean, yeah, it's a sword cane, so it would just look like a cane until you pull the handle and draw the blade.
Take a look at this baby. Literally just got it done with that money.
Lycos looks completely unimpressed. Yeah, ain't too bad. I've certainly seen better.
But yeah, you stand to make a fair amount of money from this con then.
Well, fair amount of money. It's an acceptable amount.
Okay.
I've done better. But it does resolve your recurring lich problem.
Yeah, it might do. I mean, I could technically do the same thing myself.
Well, that's cute.
Just say I don't have contacts. I was always a con man.
Alright then. First contact that's off this island.
What should I tell you?
Point made. Con man to con man, don't try and bluff against someone who can read you like a book. And he pats Penton on the head. It's almost kind of condescending, but his hand kind of parts Penton's ears as he's patting Penton on the head.
So do you want this
Stands
then?
up.
And then the gemstone is going to disappear. He's going to pull it out of his pocket. Because it was a runic illusion.
As Lycus stands up and looks at you, looks at the gemstone in your hand, he chuckles. Are you sure you don't mean this one? And pulls it out of his pocket as the gemstone in your hand vanishes.
You've got to be kidding me.
Like I said, kiddo, don't try and test me.
How many steps ahead of you do I have to be?
I don't think it's possible. You, kiddo, you're like a full staircase down from me, and I'm already halfway. Already halfway up that staircase before you even started.
Could you teach me to be like you? I mean, I would certainly like to be a few steps higher.
Lycus
Especially closer to
smiles
yourself.
and scratches his chin. Well, that's ignore me as I
Scratch his chin very vigorously.
Well, I suppose I could try and teach you a few tricks of the trade, but something tells me you're not quite ready for just how many layers of ahead of the game. And as you look around you, sorry, I'm just gonna double check that I do have this correct. eventually had this. So, as you're looking around, you notice that a significant number of people seem to. You swear you've recognized a couple of these people have walked past you repeatedly. They look almost like they're on a loop. And they flicker for a moment. It's about half a dozen people, roughly. Flicker for a second.
What's going on?
And then they continue as normal. And Lycos looks at you with a smile.
What did you do?
Something.
What was that?
Something. You'll find out later.
Can I do that? I didn't know that was. What was that?
Lycos is now standing at this point and shrugs. Well, perhaps when you're not using your card game to try and pull some cheeky deal.
I literally just took that guy's coin purse. What do you mean he's not real? He's gonna pull out the coin purse that he took and watch it vanish.
It is in fact a small spherical stone that is carved in the shape of a hand with a middle finger. So basically, this stone has been carved to Flippy the bird.
My head hurts.
Yeah, a lot of people tend to find that. Also, be glad that I noticed you were going for me coin pouch. Because you definitely weren't going to grab a coin pouch. I'll tell you that much, son. And then Lycos walks off, leaving Penton completely bewildered as to what Lycos was on about. And then sees Penton
slightly turned on.
Oh dear. But Lycos' coin pouch is nowhere to be seen on his belt.
What?
There is no coin pouch on Lycos' belt. Like 99% of people normally have their coin pouch accessible. Lycos' is not there. At least not that you can see anyway.
So what do I see around me now then?
Normal people.
Okay. I was hoping I wasn't just sitting in the middle of a field talking to myself this whole time thinking that I was in town.
No, you are in town. There are just less people.
I guess I'll go back to my act. Step right up, and scene.
Anywho, so, oh god, right. Mira, are you back now? Oh, yes you are. I can see you.
Physically, yes. Mentally, no.
Valid. Where are you currently?
Wherever you left me.
I left you in the guild room. I sent a bunch of
Then
people,
I am there.
I sent a bunch of people, let people pick where they went off. Penton, as the scene that you just returned to.
Yep.
Penton was in the town, basically running a con. Milo is in the library, reading or doing research, I don't know. And Alec has gone off to go see Susan.
I would have asked her if she would like to come, so I assume she will say yes.
Yes, I would like to see the Susano.
Okay, so
Okay.
you two have
Susan.
We're
time.
Susaning.
The time of the Susan.
Susan, I have to look up where she is. There she is. So Susan is just kind of vibing in the gym as she normally does. And she notices Alec Amira entering the gym. Oh god, welcome again. Let me guess, you two are here to pester me again. And
Well, yeah, just a little bit.
what do you kids want now?
We'll be quiet. We'll be quiet. Don't worry.
Will we be quiet?
Yes.
Okay.
You can hear her crunch her knuckles together as she starts lifting basically lifting this really heavily stacked bar. And so as you're kind of watching Susan and kind of just vibing in the same space as her, where is it? There you are. You hear the sounds of a lute playing down the hallway, and there's a rather lovely voice echoing down the hall. And Susan looks over to you both. Did you happen to bring you know what, never mind. You weren't bringing anybody with you, were you?
Not that we know of.
It's just us.
She nods, stands up, sticks her head out the doorway, and you hear her shout the name Jake, followed by, "Can you fucking can it? Stop trying to bloody serenade the guildmasters. They're fucking busy. Go serenade someone else, you dick." And then she comes back in and looks very amused. "Oh,
Wow.
And from down the hallway you just hear, "Susan, Susan, fuck yourself," echo from down the hallway, and it kind of slowly gets quieter and quieter. Anyway, how come you kids are hanging about me anyway?
'Cause you're our bestest friend.
She doesn't seem to understand how to respond to that one, just blankly looks at you as though you just said the stupidest thing. What?
I mean, to her it probably was.
More than likely. So you're coming in here because you're trying to befriend me.
Yes.
Why? Any particular reason why, or are you just... Because all you're doing at the moment is just kind of staring at me. It's a little bit weird. Not gonna
Well-
lie to you.
We think you're really cool.
Yeah.
She looks at Mira, looks at Alec. You know what? That's a bit too easy of a bit too easy one to swing at. One of you definitely seems to be a bit more oblivious. The other one is definitely thinks I'm a bit more than cool. And her gaze settles upon Alec for a brief moment or two. Before then
I'm looking at the
Mira.
ground. I'm looking at the ground.
Susan
Shame.
just shakes her head. Kids. And Susan goes back to her weightlifting.
Wait a minute. Alec!
Yes.
Do you know how to weightlift?
You lift them. I don't know.
Susan, you should show Alec how to weightlift properly.
Please
You
don't.
know,
I
the techniques and all.
No thanks.
Susan just looks at Mira, looks at Alec, looks at the fact that both of you are very clearly lacking strength, without question, and just sighs before carrying on.
Is that a yes?
I think that's a no, Miria.
Oh, okay.
Seems as though she is indirectly trying her best to ignore you now.
Aww.
I think there's no more fun to be had here. Let's go. Let's run around the guild some.
Oh my god, we've got to play punch tag.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Mimi likes to play that one.
Does he?
Yeah, it's his favorite. I think he likes hitting people.
That's a little concerning. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. He seems pretty happy when he does it.
That's crazy. He never seems happy to me. So
Well, I
or maybe
think
he's just not happy when I'm there.
yeah, I kind of think it might be the latter there.
Yeah. It's
He
cool.
just looks at you and he looks like he's eating like a bad radish or something.
Why radish?
Why? It's the first rotten vegetable that came to my mind. I could say, wait, what's a green vegetable? Oh, green
Like half of
pepper.
them?
Green pepper.
Broccoli, cabbage,
Broccoli. I bloody love
lettuce.
broccoli. Yum yum yum.
Like half the vegetables are green.
Yeah, but when you have to name them on the spot, it's really hard. I'm realizing that Susan can hear exactly this conversation.
Yeah, Susan is still in this room. As far as I'm aware, you have not left yet.
No, we're just standing there.
You were
we
just
left.
standing there next to
Yeah,
a
we're
woman
just
trying
facing.
to
We're just
run.
now facing away from her. So
But you're still in
There's
the
a-
room.
we're
Yep.
still in the room. We've just turned our heads slightly.
Okay, please carry on as you were.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, then we do leave the room. Look around.
Yes, we're gonna go party.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Totally.
so
It sounds so disappointed.
the two of you are wandering around. Hinton is still, I'm presuming, still in the village at this point. Running is gone.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Okay. So. Oh, God.
Good.
Right, Milo, what were you doing in the library, if you don't mind me asking?
Reading something that I quite haven't figured out yet.
Okay. Alright. In that case then... So where the group currently is, Penton is in the village, Alec and Mira are wandering around the guild hall, Milo is in the library doing something unknown to me as a current. Nolan, Xanis, and Yuzok are... where are they currently? They are off in one of the areas of the guild. I can't remember off the top of my head. They're getting to know one another. And, well, I have Gelda, Kay, Alice, and Fenrir are currently out inland far. It's basically out in the town helping with the wheat harvest. Or I say wheat harvest, it's not wheat specifically, but it would be this island's wheat equivalent, which is a late bloomer. Because I can't be asked to come up with a name for wheat that is not wheat, but is technically wheaty in weakness. Oh, God. My brain cells are struggling to improv. Right, so time is passing by. Ow, my knuckles. I should not click there. Penton, you notice that a lot of the people that lose your card game do not actually have that much coin on them, or if they do have coin, it's just not grabbable. So basically, you haven't really been able to get much. And the ones that you did get seem to be Lycus's stand-ins, which does frustrate you a bit.
I would say that the sequence of events has thrown Penton off of his game enough that he is not doing too well in terms of successes.
What the fuck?
He's got a headache right now. He's not sure what's real and what's not. He doesn't truly know if Lycus is even gone.
If Lycus is even gone. That's a big if. Right, so...
It just keeps interrogating the people that sit down. How do I know if you're even real? Prove
Valid.
it.
Valid. Right. I'm trying to work out what to do from this point forward because my brain has gone put. E. Oh, fucking hell. Okay, so time is slowly passing, and after a while, same thing again of having food, sleeping, and I'm presuming sleeping as of the late evening, unless anybody has a particular thing they wish to do.
I guess it's too late. You should probably check the old mission board, see if there's anything half interesting there.
Ooh, I'm going to practice sleight of hand because I think I still have not.
You have not completed your practice
No.
to get proficiency yet, but
Practice sleight of hand.
Not
you
doing
say?
that. Yep.
Could I be of any assistance there?
Could Penton help?
I am a master at sleight of hand. It's kind of one of my things.
Oh my
It's how I
God.
planted a thing on Lycus, which wasn't real, apparently.
yes, you may educate Alec in sleight of hand
Yay!
to try and help him improve his stealing, etc.
Why do you want to steal anyway?
Don't worry about that.
Is there a particular thing you want to steal, or are you just...
That's for me to know and you to find out later.
I would steal a shirt off your back and you wouldn't know, Alec.
No, you couldn't. That would be rude. I would be embarrassed.
So not that you don't believe that I could, it's more that you don't want me to.
Please don't. Please don't steal the clothes that I'm wearing.
Anyway, the key to sleight of hand is of course misdirection. You put the person's focus on something else so they don't see what you are doing. It's misdirection and speed. So, I guess try and steal my coin purse.
Okay, I'm gonna. Well, how do I do it if you're aware that I'm gonna try?
That's what you have to figure out.
Fuck.
This would, if you would like some DM assistance for what rolls, this would likely be a stealth and then sleight of hand.
If I fucking teleport behind him and then sleight of hand. Can I do that?
You certainly may.
Okay. That would still be stealth and then sleight of hand.
Yes, it would still require you to use stealth and sleight of hand.
Stealth is pretty good. Do I have anything? Looking at my abilities. Something thievery. Measure the mark. When thief makes a sleight of hand check to steal something from target, the foe makes his perception check for the thief's roll. So, first I'll stealth, and then Penton, you make a perception check.
The perception check. Okay.
First, the stealth is 35. That's pretty good.
perception shit. I rolled an 18.
Okay, I'm gonna put that sleight of hand in there then. Ooh. 17 plus. Above that, 33.
What do you roll sleight of hand against?
Hmm?
What do you roll sleight of hand against?
That perception check you just made.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So, yes.
So I now have your coin purse.
Well done. Seem to be getting pretty good at this. But there's a few pointers I could give you. And
Please don't tell me I'm not wearing shoes. I look down. Am I wearing shoes?
You are wearing shoes. And
Excellent.
From the signaling that Penton just gave me, he essentially starts giving Alec pointers on how to improve his sleight of hand. And you spend a little while doing this. I'm just going to make a note. So you have gained some experience on that. I have made a note of how much progress, of how far along the progress thing you are towards that.
Excellent.
Okay. Outside of that, is there anything else that's happening, Milo? What have you figured out what you're doing in the library?
Yep. That research is going to be into learning primordial.
Okay. Can you make me a linguistics check with advantage, please? Because you've been doing the research, so I can make note of how much progress you've made so far.
Oh, that's. Oh, I can't. I meant to type 2, but whoops. Hold on. 28.
Yep. So you've made a bit of progress, which I'm assuming you spent the whole day.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. Okay. So you've made some progress. It's not a massive amount, but let me rename this section from that. So you've made a small bit of progress, but because of how massively different the characters and the language itself is by comparison to what you're used to, so things like common, infernal, etc., you only make a small amount of progress on it. I have made a note of it, so I will be aware of how much progress you make from this point onwards, for lack of better wording. I'm presuming the party are now taking the time to rest up after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right, so the next day, the 15th of August, 56 AR. Same rinse and repeat cycle. So, do you do your D10 rolls? Okay. Penton and Mira, what were your D10 rolls, please?
What is this for?
This is for the practicing of twin casting.
Ah, I got a 9.
And Penton?
Is it wait, can I
It's
use my base for that?
It's just the D10.
Okay.
And Penton?
That's a 3.
Okay, Milo and Alec, what did you roll?
8. 3.
Okay, I've made note of progress. What are you planning to do in this in-game day?
I would like to go study Draconian.
Okay. Let me just clear my mid-session notes again.
Thank you.
Okay, so mirror. Oh god, I need to rearrange this again. Go with. So Mira's off to go and learn Draconian or Draconic, the language. Oh, Alec, what are you doing?
I guess I'll go try and make some more progress on writing runes, and then if I can't, try and find someone to help me.
So you're gonna try and do it on your own, and if all else fails, find someone who can teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Milo.
Marla's gonna continue where he left off yesterday when to learn Primordial.
Okay. So you'll be in the library with me. The same library as me, or Fenton?
I guess I'll check in with Kay.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so Penton, you end up, after everybody kind of separates out, you end up approaching Kay, who is the last to leave this room as she's sitting there, learning to read. Well, I say learning to read, fucking... She's reading something that she's also learning from. Fucking hell.
Okay, what you reading?
She takes a moment to look up from her book, scanning the room, and realizes that you're the only two in there. Oh, well, I'm trying to learn a bit more about, well, mainly learning more about my own runes, but also reading a log that my father made about my family's history. See if I can find any clues as to where roughly my family's heirloom is.
Oh, you're trying to find the heirloom, okay. I've sort of been putting off going to deal with my family business, but I was going to ask you, how are you holding up? It's been a little while since the last time we spoke, and you weren't too pleased or happy
Her
the
face,
last time we spoke.
yeah, her face scrunches up as you bring that up, and her expression becomes very blank. Very blank. Well, I'm doing better. That's about as much as I can say towards that. I've been spending a bit of time with Gort here and there to talk things through and whatever.
That's good, at least you're making progress.
I did mean to ask you about something though.
What? What do you want to ask?
How do I phrase this? We're probably going to be visiting Rabbit Hovel eventually to deal with, as you put, your family business. I personally have been considering the idea of undertaking some of my own business whilst there.
Your own business.
We'll call it research of a...
Like a big criminal underworld?
No.
So I've got some contacts I could set you up with?
I kind of have my own contacts already in relation to if I need that sort of thing being dealt with.
You do?
She kind of looks to the side.
How long has this been a thing?
Well, I've been talking. Well, me, Xanis, and well, to a lesser extent, Yuzok, have been talking to Lycus and trying to organize some things. So, worst case scenario, we have an idea of places we can go to should we be, hunted down like what happened with the judges. What I'm referring to is the kind of business that Nolan assumed that you were going to make of him. I can't word it better than that.
Oh, that. Okay. Why are you telling me this?
Well, I don't want to ask Alec because Alec will probably go, "Oh, you mean this," and not deal with it in a suitable manner. Also, doesn't really seem like the person to ask about this location specifically. Mira, no, because then everybody knows. I don't really fancy the idea of going to talk to Milo about that sort of thing, considering where we stand with one another currently. And, well, Xanis and Yuzok can make suggestions, but how does one put it? You seem like the kind of person who has a better understanding of Rabbit Hovel as a overarching situation. What I want to arrange is that I can attempt to try something once to find if I actually like it or not, so I can make an informed opinion on it, and then move along from there. And she is a little bit flushed because what she's asking is very. She's very clearly not certain of how to word herself.
Penton smiles.
Why is Penton smiling? Kay looks mildly concerned that Penton starts smiling.
No, in a sort of endearing sort of way. In a
Oh,
sly
okay.
way.
I thought this was a sly. No, so like an endearing smile. Okay. Kay just kind of scratches the back of her head. Do you know of any locations of which I could do my research without being put in a potentially unfavorable situation?
So you got an itch you need to scratch.
No. More of a. I've never seen the appeal of it personally, but I've also never done that, so I can't make an informed opinion until. Yeah. And she shrugs, very clearly indicating that she's not really sure how to word it, but you get the general gist of the idea that she's basically requesting information on a potential safe space for her to experience something without it potentially backfiring or going horribly wrong. With Penton's
Okay.
entire lifespan of living within Rabbit Hovel itself.
I know some places people won't ask questions, and I can arrange something that is entirely safe for you.
She nods. Yeah, that'd be appreciated. Because once I've tried it, then I can form an opinion on it, and if I still am of the same opinion as now, then at least I can't say I haven't tried. And she's scratching the back of her head and looking progressively more flushed and embarrassed.
Do you have any kind of preferences in what you're looking for?
She begins to kind of vaguely describe, but she doesn't describe something of one or the other. She is describing a person that fits into both categories in terms of gender.
Okay. tricky, but I can make it work.
So you two have a conversation relating around this, because my brain cannot think of more mildly flushed cave explanations that don't. Yeah, my brain cells are fried because fun. So you two have your conversation. Gelder's off doing that. Nolan, Yuzok, and Xanis are off doing that. Brain cells. Mira, can you roll me linguistics? Milo, can you roll me linguistics? Alec, can you roll me linguistics?
Do I get advantage?
No, you do not.
What?
Can I use time? No, it'd be too long, wouldn't it? Fuck.
For this
And
situation
moment of
specifically-
prescience would also be too long.
Wait, hang on a minute. No.
Okay.
Mira, are you asking advantages in because you're doing research, or advantage because of heritage?
Bit of both.
Research reasons, yes. Heritage reasons, no. Sorry, my brain
Fair.
had a complete blip of, oh, right, yeah, she's literally looking at a book.
Oh, moment of prescience lasts 20 hours, so yeah, I can use that.
It also lasts for only one check, so...
Yeah, just
Oh,
this
yeah,
one
it's
check.
20 hours, yeah. Ignore me. Go for it.
Cool, excellent. Linguistics. Natural 20, okay. 20 plus 19 is 39, plus 20 is 50, okay.
Okay, so...
That's 59.
59.
Guess I didn't need that moment of prescience.
So you
So that's
managed
8
to make
MP.
some progress, but it's still roughly around the same. Like the words do kind of half form, but they seem to fizzle out. But you're getting a lot more consistent with it, like much more consistent with it. Though most of the words that you try to write out, the ones that do kind of spark up a little bit, tend to share the same characters as launch. So most of them have an L, an A, a U, you know, carry on.
Balls! With a 59?
Mm-hmm.
That's so high though.
Yeah, I know. It is a success. I could sit here and explain a long ass fucking whole paragraph of how learning things works, but I really don't think that's going to be interesting.
Okay, but I've made progress
Yes,
a little
you have,
bit.
You have made
Cool.
a significant amount of progress in comparison to where you were previously.
Excellent.
Mira, what did you roll?
48.
Yeah, you started slowly getting the. Was draconic. You slowly started picking up the basics of it, and it's very difficult to fully comprehend, but you're kind of getting there slowly. And Milo, what did you roll?
29.
Okay. Yeah, you've made some progress as well. Oh, this is gonna sound like a really stupid question, but Mira and Milo, which section of your language are you trying to learn first? Reading, writing, or speaking?
I'd say reading.
Reading.
Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So while that's happening, that's going to take up most of the day. The three of you just studying. Penton, what are you doing after interacting with Kay?
I think I'll have a chat with Zelda. I've never had a chat with Zelda before.
Okay. So, Penton, you go to find Zelda, who you find wandering around the town. And he looks over to you and kind of waves briefly. Are you approaching?
In a sort of way of wasn't. In a way that doesn't suggest that I was actually looking for them. I was just wandering around in town.
Okay.
Oh, Jelda, didn't see you there.
Ah, well, yes. Well, you've seen me now.
Yes, I've seen you, but I've never spoken to you. Not properly.
Well, that's understandable, I guess. That's been quite busy.
Yeah, so, I was wondering. I know nothing about summoning. So, do you, like, choose your avatar, or how does that work?
Well,
Do they choose you? Do you
It-
just stumble into each other one day?
it depends on the person. When you're born and if you start practicing summoning magic from a young age, the avatar is based on you as a personality. You can, I think, rotate them around, but that requires you to go and fight the deity that you want to swap it to, or at least the lesser version that they summon. I did not do so with Fenrir, because why would I want to change from Big Fluffy Doggo?
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
Looking at me, what do you think? Just first that comes to your head. What do you think mine would have been?
Jelda frowns and does a full, like, analysis of Penton. Like, even to the point of, like, twanging Penton's ears, like, moving Penton's arms about. Like, poking you in the nose. Like, full on. Like your doctor's being studied sort of situation. And then scratches his chin. Well, it depends. Because I could say that you'd end up with something similar to myself, but that would be a bit of a boring response. So
Why would I have something similar to you?
well, you strike me as very much the charismatic type, but not exactly quite all there in the wisdom department. You seem quite smart, and obviously you've got your street smarts as well, but you're not the most perceptive. That could just be me, though. So it could be Fenrir, or if we're talking about now, because unfortunately I kind of grew up to get used to Fenrir, you know, being the perceptive and insightful pain in the ass he is. I would have to say, probably Rama.
Who's Rama?
Jelda just slow blinks at you. You're telling me you don't know who Rama is? The deity of lightning?
Not off the top of my head. I don't know a whole lot about gods.
That's understandable. Basically, the guy, think old man, capable of controlling lightning, very wise, very intelligent, very, well, lightning-y.
Very sassy.
Well,
He's been
yes,
sassy a bit, so.
relatively. Sassy and a little bit chaotic, I suppose the best way to describe him. Anyway, you're, I'm sure, two brains are better than one. I did a little bit of digging into I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I was making use of some of my spells to sneak into the guild's, I guess, library. Specifically, I wanted to look at some of the notes that Nova was picking apart because he wouldn't let me look yesterday. And they were looking at the notes for my mother's burial, and they made note of the fact that she had a very large scar down one side of her body I've never seen before.
But like for a fight?
As though some sort of surgery had been performed,
Oh.
as it was described. Specifically, as though they were trying to separate something from her. And that got me wondering, what kind of separation would it be? And then I read the next paragraph underneath that was completely obvious that I just didn't bother reading the first time round. And it seems as though it's the same sort of procedure when you have twins that are born fused to one another? Like they were joined at the butt. Or waist. I thought it was talking about the butt, but it's talking about the waist.
Joined at the butt.
Yes, I am not a medical expert. I just saw the area that it was describing and presumed it was butt. It was not in fact a butt. It was a hip. Or waist. Friggin' notes. People trying to sound more intelligent than they need to.
I'm sure people get those two confused all the time. So, twins.
Yes.
That must be quite the revelation for yourself.
It means that I had an uncle. I may have had an uncle I don't know about. Or an auntie of some sort. Meaning that hypothetically speaking, there could be more of my family wandering around.
So you're not the last of the bloodline.
I don't know. I'm really confused. And I was talking to Nova about it, and he explained to me that they've been trying to figure out if that's the case, or whether it was just birthed as conjoined twins, and then one of them was alive and the other was not, or something like that. I don't know. But they're trying to work out whether from that and scanning a lot of the places, whether that's possible or not. And it's freaking me out a little bit, thinking about the fact that there could be another. I could have multiple relatives that I don't know, or it could just be a case of medical procedures and helping, and I don't know. It could just be a whole convenience or coincidence that, well, yes.
That's a lot to drop on someone all at once.
That was my fault for reading it. I know.
It's also your fault for telling me, but I guess you need to vent these things. So, I assume the guildmaster knows, and they're looking for this person.
Jelda very rapidly nods.
I can try and pull some strings on my end, try and help find them. Although most of my contacts went underground when I was left beaten half to death in the middle of the forest.
You were left beamed in the forest?
Beaten, not beamed.
Oh, my apologies.
I was beamed with a few things, but it's more of a
Yes,
slang. But I learned that a dear friend like us has a lot of contacts in the criminal underworld. Maybe some of his spies might have heard something about this. I don't know. He literally created an entire crowd of people. I spent an entire day just trying to do my usual thing and con people. I had like this card trick, and I was going to this your card, and I had my runes that I could just so, haha, I knew what your card was all along. I'll try to find out what it is, of course. But none of them were real. It was all fake. And then there was a rock, and I don't know. My head, I hurts just thinking about it.
Jelda points at 6 different people walking in the crowd. You mean those people?
And turns his head, I guess, towards the people.
Jelda very gently places a hand on Penton's shoulder, and almost as if a wave pushes out from Penton, you can suddenly see the 6 people that were summoned as illusions. Clear as day. You mean those people?
How did you... Are you even here? Are you real?
Some.
Like us, are you here?
And Gelda removes his hand from Pendant's shoulder. Summon a thing.
Summon a thing?
Specifically, my family thing.
Explain.
Well, that delusion is used to summon false replicas of people to basically be scripted to walk around the town in case somebody attacks and they want an easy target. Those 6 illusory people are all scripted hallucinations that everybody else sees that just walk around the town. They even have entire family, I say families, they have entire hidden away rotations of different things and entire alibis and false histories to, well, essentially protect the people from surprise assassins from the cult or something along that line.
So... what?
Gelda repeats the same thing but slightly slower.
So... the Sleeping Wolf Guild has fake people walking around in Landfire that have entire lives and...
Gelda slowly nods, following Penton. Yes. It's quite clever when you think about it.
Is it only those 6 people?
Yes, only those 6. I've checked. They were quite fascinating when I arrived.
Are the people still there, by the way? Or are they gone?
Right, they're continuing to go about their day.
I'm gonna go up and poke one of them.
Gelda just follows on, and you poke one of them, and she turns around. Hi.
Hello.
My name's Doreen.
Nice to meet you, Doreen. My name's Penton. I just learnt that you're not real, and I'm pretty sure I'm going mad.
I like eggs. Eggs are my favorite.
So about these people all having, like, Penton's gonna turn to Gelda, so about all these people having, like, their own lives and stuff, I'm guessing they don't put a whole lot of effort into it, with the bits that you can't see.
Gelda just nods.
Just like a few sentences or something.
Gelda just nods. Well, yes. From when I asked the gambling man that seems to hang around Lupus quite a lot. Oh, sorry, the guildmaster a lot. I think you had a run-in with him earlier. It was quite entertaining watching from a distance.
Yeah, I tried to... I got a bit out of my depth and tried to con a much more efficient con man than myself.
Yes, it's that didn't go very well for you, I can tell.
No, I pretended to give him the gemstones so then he'd tell me his plan to sell
He just
gemstones
nods.
so I could take it.
He just nods.
And then everything wasn't real.
Gelda's just sitting there smiling, nodding. Yes, that's once again more summon illusions to replicate things and whatever.
I should probably book in another session with Gore. I think I need therapy.
Oh no, most of us require therapy. I mean, look at Mira. Actually, that's a thought. Gelda sits there and looks at Penton.
Most of us require therapy for being with Mira, and I don't know about Mira herself.
Gelda scratches his chin. Say, something I'm quite surprised by. You and Mira seem to get along quite well, but isn't her dad the one who killed your family?
I don't know that. I do know that. Don't I?
Yes, you do know that Tuck was the one who killed both of your parents. Sorry, I shouldn't be trying to poke old wounds, but I do find that quite fascinating.
It just doesn't seem that connected to her dad, I guess, and there's a limited amount of people here that I can really try and talk to, and I'm trying to be a better person, and got a lot of shit going on, and guess by what the guildmaster said, should try and be better acquainted with the rest of my group. So I figured I'd start with her. She's energetic, she's got a lot of easily approachable and the easiest to manipulate, so she's sort of my go-to person to fuck with.
Well, I must say, it is certainly quite entertaining watching your fuckery, as I believe that you would put it.
I mean, I literally picked up a glove that gave me more strength and wanted to test it on someone, so I asked Mira if I could punch her. And what do you think she did?
I mean, if memory serves correctly, I'm pretty sure I was there. But I would presume she let you punch her in the face.
Yeah. And then somehow was upset afterwards.
Well, I can't really say much there.
So basically, when it comes to interacting with people, she's easy mode. So.
Well, I can't say I exactly gave myself the easiest people to interact with. But,
Because the rest of them are not exactly easy to talk to.
yeah. I've had some interesting conversations with the Guildmaster himself. Or Guildmasters, I suppose.
Oh, the Guildmasters are a treat.
Yes, they seem, almost like the parents of the guild. It is surprisingly family-like in well, minus a few people. Like Susan.
Minus Susan?
Well, she's like that mean aunt. I mean, I get her vibe, but also, it is kind of scary to think of what she did to her husband.
What did she do to her husband?
You haven't been told about that? She didn't tell you?
I've had one interaction with Susan where she grabbed me by the throat and held me against a wall, so...
I mean, that sounds like your thing. Anyway, explaining what she did. Her and her husband didn't exactly get along. Well, they did, but then he turned around to her and tried to get her to quit doing her weightlifting, whatever, because she wasn't woman enough. So she fed him to a behemoth. It was interesting to learn. And then I'd like Penton to roll a history check.
History check?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. A history check. It's 44.
Yep. You have a memory. You recall a memory of Brythia, and that she was going to do the same thing to you had Xanis not have intervened.
I wonder if she's ever met Brythia.
I have no idea who you're talking about, but
Long story short, Sora is an easy lay. Was a fairly easy lay. But then she tried to attack me with a hammer, and I found out afterwards that she intended to break my hips and leave me in front of me with them.
so she's a possessed carpet,
Oh,
or like a mattress. I can't imagine what. For context, Joel, what you've just said to Joel there has gone completely over his head. And when you say lay, he's thinking of laying on something, like a mattress.
Yes, she polymorphed into a mattress. It was quite something to see. Not exactly what I'm into, but
Absolutely fascinating.
yeah.
Anyway.
Some weird things happen at night here.
I must continue my my little troll for some information, because if I can find anyone I'm related to, well, I want to meet them. Although, something I would prefer to keep to myself for now, because I shouldn't have really read the Guildmaster's notes or Nova's notes, so this is information I technically shouldn't have.
It's fine. I'm good with the Guildmaster. Just stick with me, kid.
I'm pretty sure I'm older than you.
It's a turn of phrase, Gelden.
Oh, right. I get it now. He doesn't get it. And also, he is definitely not older than you. He is a year younger than you.
But so I guess if you want, I can help you with that.
Sure. I don't see why not. And the two of you end up investigating about until it comes to evening time. And what I'm going to do is I am going to wrap session up there. We'll start the next session at the beginning of the next day, so the 16th of August. Okay. And with that, I shall be ending the stream. See you next one.
Cool.
Bye-bye.